Hospital de Sant Pau. The former Hospital de la Santa Sant Pau English, Hospital of the Holy Cross and St. Paul, about El Guinardó, Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain, is a complex built between 1901 and 1930. It is one of the most prominent works of the Catalan modernism architect Lluís Domènech I Montaner. The complex was listed as a Conjunto Histórico in 1978. Together with Palau de la Música Catalana, the clinic complex was declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1997 due to its architectural uniqueness and artistic beauty. In 2001, the 600th anniversary of the hospital was celebrated. Composed of 12 pavilions connected through long underground galleries within its large green space, Sant Pau is the largest complex built in Art Nouveau style. It was a fully functioning hospital until June 2009, when the new hospital opened next to it. It underwent restoration for use as a museum and cultural center and reopened in 2014. An important historical and architectural masterpiece, the building also offers workspace to high-profile social organizations such as the WHO, Banco Farmacéutico, Barcelona Health Hub, EMEA, UN Habitat, and more. The Cultural Center also has a historical archive where records and documents of remarkable occurrences related to the hospital and the city can be found. The archives are open to visitors and offer information to users and researchers with an information and reprographic service, in addition to a reading room. History. Interior of the hospital. Although the hospital's current 26 buildings date from the 20th century, the Hospital de la Santa Creu, the last part of its name, Sant Pau, was added in honor of the banker Pau Gil, who paid for the new buildings in the 20th century, was founded in 1401 when 6 small medieval hospitals merged. The hospital's former buildings near the center of Barcelona date from the 15th century and now house an art school, Escola Massana, and the Biblioteca de Catalunya, National Library of Catalonia. The initial building's construction started in 1401 and was completed in 1450. Later, in the 17th century, the Casa Convalescencia building was added to the complex. 7. With the expansion of the city and weariness of the medieval buildings, the construction of a new hospital designed by Lluís Domènech I Montaner began in 1902. Domènech's original plan had 48 buildings, 27 of which were constructed. In 1991, the hospital was awarded the St. George's Cross by the Generalitat de Catalunya. In 2003, a new hospital building was erected to the north of Domènech I Montaner's Modernista pavilions, where all departments moved. However, a few departments such as the blood and tissue bank, the radiography department, and the physical therapy department remain in some of the old buildings. Restoration. Pavelló de Nostra Señora del Carme, in 2015. A meticulous restoration of the complex began in 2009. The Heritage Committee coordinated the process and ensured the quality of the interventions. Over 30 teams of experts and architects took part in the restoration. The original configuration of the buildings was brought forth through examining historical archives prior to the interventions. A built area of 29,517 square meters, 317,720 square feet, and an outdoor space of 31,052 square meters, 334,240 square feet, were included in the restoration. Funded by the European Regional Development Fund, Generalitat de Catalunya, the Spanish government, IDA, Barcelona City Council, Barcelona Provincial Council, CB, and the private foundation Hospital de la Sant Creu I Sant Pau. The project had a total budget of 100 million euros. The restoration project had 3 main objectives. Restore the building to its original state by strengthening the structure and removing any elements added in the later stages of its lifetime. Emphasize the ornamental elements with materials suitable to the original design of the buildings. Adapt the complex for contemporary needs and viable alternative uses without relinquishing its authenticity. The objectives in relation to the restoration of the buildings were carried out in 3 steps. First, the original structure and plan were recovered by eliminating the structures that were not in the original plan. Afterward, the infrastructure and support structures, such as iron beams and framing, were strengthened. New underground rooms and a new perimeter of columns were built to contribute to the functionality of the building without disrupting its facade. Even though the premises have been open to visitors since 2014, the restoration project was expected to be fully completed in 2020. Experience this masterpiece of modernism, a hospital to feel good. Founded around 600 years ago, the Hospital Sant Pau developed from a medieval welfare house into a modern hospital complex. Why is it worth visiting? Today, the city within the city, as the hospital complex is also called, is one of the most important and most beautiful complexes of modernism. The history of the Hospital Sant Pau. In 1348, the Black Plague spread through Barcelona, and as a result around a third of the population at that time died. With the help of this terrible apocalypse, the need for an organized health system became increasingly apparent to people. Lluís Domènech I Montaner. With the first modernist building, the Castel dels Tres Dragons, the architect Lluís Domènech I Montaner is now considered the founder of modernism. The life of Domènech I Montaner. Modernism in Barcelona. Lluís Domènech I Montaner. The Hospital de la Santa Creu was founded in 1401. At the beginning of the 15th century, a comprehensive hospital complex was built to bring the 6 existing hospitals in Barcelona under one roof. The origin of the hospital is in the district of El Raval. The hospital building in its original location is a splendid example of Gothic civil architecture. In it, Antoni Gaudí died in 1926 after a traffic accident. Today it houses the Faculty of Medicine and the State Library of Catalonia. In the late 19th century, thanks to the increasing industrialization, there was an economic and social boom in Spain and a major expansion of the urban area of Barcelona. Healthcare also made a leap into scientific medicine and had to face new hygienic principles. In addition, the buildings in the narrow El Raval district became too small, and plans were made to expand the hospital complex. In 1902, the legacy of the banker Pau Gil made it possible to build a new hospital. So, on January 15, 1902, construction work began with the laying of the foundation stone at its current location, only about 1,000 meters from the Sagrada Familia. From then on, the hospital was called Hospital de la Santa Creu de Sant Pau in his honor. A good 30 years later, on January 16, 1930, the new hospital was handed over to the Spanish King Alfonso XIII. After almost 80 years, hospital operations moved to the new building directly behind the modernism complex, and the historic facility, including the sick rooms, has been open to visitors ever since. Hospital Sant Pau, the city within the city. The hospital was to be something special, in a relaxing, tree-lined environment where patients could recover from their illnesses and pains and breathe fresh, clean air. The medieval and Moorish-influenced architecture, typical of much Catalan Art Nouveau, makes it difficult to say that this is a hospital. The orientation of the buildings to the north-south axis of the site allows for maximum solar radiation on the facades of the pavilions. In addition, the design as a park hospital created open areas for the well-being of patients, which was considered a novelty at the time. The hospital area takes up an entire block. Almost 30 buildings are in a park. With the inclusion of 2 gardens per pavilion, the architect Lluís Domènech I Montaner gave the complex a cheerful, optimistic character that helped the sick and their families to feel better. Horse chestnut, linden, and orange trees line the central promenade and provide shade in summer. Medicinal plants such as laurel, lavender, rosemary, and lemon trees grow in the roadside beds. At the main entrance to the Hospital de la Santa Creu I Sant Pau complex is the chapel-like administrative building with a large domed roof and an impressive entrance hall with marble columns and mosaic-covered ceilings. It is no coincidence that the building looks like a church, as it is intended to symbolize the Christian tradition. At the same time, the building should represent a person who spreads his arms and welcomes the patients with open arms. Behind the administration building you can see the pavilion, with the operating room in the middle. The tunnel system that connects the pavilion to the others allowed the patients to be quickly transferred to their rooms. At the end of the original area was the monastery pavilion. The building was designed by Pere Domènech, son of Lluís Domènech I Montaner. It consists of 3 parts, connected with small covered pedestrian bridges. The service areas of the hospital were housed here, such as the kitchen, pharmacy, and accommodation for the nuns, who worked here as nurses. A new building, which is located behind the monastery building, expanded the old hospital and is now home to the modern hospital. The historic modernist hospital can be visited today. What can be visited? A sightseeing route is signposted in the hospital complex, which you can, but do not have to follow. Beginning of the tour and outdoor area. The visit begins in the San Salvador Pavilion, with an exhibition on the hospital from its foundation to the present day. A symbolic dragon pays homage to the work of Domènech I Montaner. Outdoor area. The Garden City model created at the beginning of the 20th century was the model for the design of the outdoor areas. You can relax here in a beautiful park and admire the beauty of the exterior facades of the pavilions. Pavilion Saint Raphael. You will experience a journey through time to the 1920s and 1930s. A historic hospital pavilion is recreated here, and you can see how a hospital operated in the 1930s. Also see what Barcelona looked like in the 1920s. Tunnel and administration building. Of particular interest is the tunnel system that connected the buildings and through which the patients could be quickly transferred. The tour ends in the representative and richly decorated administration building, which also served as a reception pavilion. Early example of sustainable building. Due to the geothermal installations, which ensure the heat supply to various pavilions of the hospital complex in the form of almost 400 wells, more than 100 meters deep. The facility is an example of sustainable construction and efficient energy balance. For reasons of hygiene, the entire area has been laid out on a slope, as is well known. The warm air moves upwards, so the ventilation system was developed in such a way that all bacteria and viruses are drawn away from the patients with the draft. The selected building materials are made of durable building materials that do justice to the function of a hospital. As a typical component of modernist architecture, we find a striking mix of materials such as brick, natural stone, iron, glass, and ceramics. The main processed material is the red brick, which was used exclusively for facades. This is combined with the natural stone, which was used for all decorative, architectural elements, reliefs, sculptures, and in the interior ceiling designs. The Hospital de Sant Pau can be reached within a 10-15-minute walk directly from the Sagrada Familia via the beautiful tree-lined pedestrian street, Avenue de Gaudi. Why the Hospital Sant Pau is worth visiting. The Hospital Sant Pau is a beautiful modernism complex, a masterpiece by the architect Lluís Domènech I Montaner. Always with the intention of serving people and their health, he built a hospital that, as a total work of art, offered color and freshness instead of sterility. As a visitor, you feel completely at ease and wonder why today's hospitals are not built like that. The hospital is rightly on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Valuable information. Address: Carrer de Sant Antoni Maria Claret, 167. Phone: +34 932 562 504. Arrival: Metro Sant Pau, Dos de Maig L5, Guinardó L4. Bus tourist Sagrada Familia. Parking nearby. Opening times: April-October, daily 9:30 to 18:30. November-March, daily 9:30 to 1700 hours. Admission: General admission. Adults 25 to 64 years, €17. Youth 12 to 24 years, €12.60. Seniors 65 plus, €12.60. Free admission. Children under 12 years. April 23rd, Museum Night, September 24th. 20% discount, Barcelona card, bus tourist. Tips for the visit to the hospital. From the Sagrada Familia, the C/Gaudi Street leads directly to the hospital. The approximately 1,000 meters are worth walking. With a guided tour English, you get a look behind the scenes of the hospital. You should plan about 1.5 to 2 hours for the visit.
renovation.